Hello, hello. Welcome to Take Two with Greg Reverdiau. I'm excited. I know there's a bunch of people in the chat already who have been waiting for this workshop. We're going to get started in just a few moments. We're making sure everything works on our side. We would love to make sure this is a really technically sound and perfect workshop. So for those who are joining us in the chat, because I already see there's quite a few folks today, say hello. If you haven't written in already, to say where you're joining us from, because I've seen some folks write in, advertising their balmy weather. Take this moment to do it again. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Whoever said second time's the charm, thank you. That's how I feel. Today is the day. It's going to work. Me and Greg have discussed this. We have tested. We have cell phones in case anything goes wrong to call each other. We got this. So, Greg, why don't you say hello? I'm going to kick it to you in a second or two, but let's test everything out.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Take number 2. Second time is the charm.
Exactly. All right. So for anyone who wasn't here for take 1, just to repeat some quick housekeeping measures, there's going to be a replay available. So if you joined late, if you want to rewatch any pieces, that's fine. Don't worry about it. There will be some time for Q&A at the end. So I know a lot of questions come up. This is a really active chat. I apologize if your question gets buried in there. I'll probably repeat at the end. Let's bring the questions to Greg towards the end. So if you have something great, I would encourage you to write it down, and we'll try to leave time for those. And if you bring them at the end, there's a much less chance they're buried. Without further ado, Greg, I'm going to bring your screen up and I'm going to pop backstage. And, why don't you give a bit of background for yourself for those who might not know you? We're excited for this show.
Will do. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Appreciate your help last week. And let me get my thing situated right here so I can start this presentation. And this should do right here. So let's go ahead and talk about drone business. And you guys, we started last week. We started talking about a whole bunch of different tips, and we're going to do that again this week, and then we're going to continue the presentation. I have one tip for you. If you ever present a webinar, make sure that your phone is not face down on silent so that it doesn't disturb you, because if somebody's trying to get a hold of you, then you can see that they're trying to get a hold of you. So that's my free tip for you. I want to talk and kind of get started talking about my background and why you should really be listening to me. I know a lot of you, I recognize your names, are in the course and have been taking some of our courses. But at this stage, I've been assistant VP for aviation programs for a large training program in Florida, Florida Institute of Technology is where I worked. I was there for 13 years, had over 100 employees. We had 500 students. We had 50 aircraft, large training operation. I was also the president of a flight school, 25 employees, about 100 students, and about 14 aircraft, so a little bit smaller, which gave me the ability to see a different side of business. And this is the reason why I'm teaching this course, because I've learned so many things over the years managing a large and a small training environment. I've been running my own aviation business, providing services, including drone services. I stopped doing that because now, obviously, I'm in charge of Pilot Institute as the co-owner. We have almost 65,000 students in the system now, 88,000 enrollment. So we've been teaching drone pilots and airplane pilots for quite a while. And as you can imagine, this is also running a business for me, and a lot of things that happen that we have to deal with on a regular basis. My background, I'm a certified flight instructor, a commercial pilot, and also a remote pilot, like many of you who are taking our courses and trying to learn how to get into the next part right here, which is building your own business. I also teach at a university as a professor in the UAS world. So that's kind of, in a few words, why you should listen to me. Been doing this for a while. I've got some business background. And today I want to talk about a few things. And the first thing is, let's talk about what you can actually do with your drone. This is a question we get all the time from people saying, well, I want to get certified. What can I do with a drone? So we'll talk about that. We're going to see how much you can realistically make. I'm not going to lie, I'm not the kind of guy that's selling you a dream. I'm going to be pretty realistic about what it is that you can do with the drone and how much money you can actually make. We're going to discover how to find customers, and this is really important. How to find customers, how to keep them is also super important, actually probably even more important than finding them. And I'm going to give you some marketing tips on how you can stand out and be different from your competition. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you kind of an actionable plan of things that you should be doing if you want to get started. So let's talk about this, and let's talk about the realistic approach because I think this is missing. For those of you that know me, that are in the course, you know that I'm pretty straightforward. If it's going to be something difficult to study, I'm going to tell you it's difficult to study. If this is going to be a difficult achievement, then I'm going to tell you it's going to be difficult. And I'm not painting a rosy picture of the industry. This is not the place where you're going to become a millionaire overnight. You could become a millionaire, I'm sure, if you put the hard work, if you have the right skills. But at this stage, I'm not trying to sell you a dream. So this is really important. I want to make sure that you guys understand that part is I'm not selling you a dream. So sorry, I just wanted to make sure this was good. There's no snake oil, and I like to use that term because this is something pretty familiar to most people. So before we get into starting a business, first off, you need to make sure that you're certified, properly certified. And by what I mean by that is you need to have a Part 107 certificate. And people say, when is it that I need a certificate? I'm not collecting money. I'm doing this for free for a friend, for his business, for a church, whatever it is. Do I really need to have a certificate? And the answer is yes. Anytime you fly and it's not for recreational purposes, you need to have a certificate. So whether you're collecting money, whether you're doing it for nonprofit, doesn't really matter. What matters is whether or not you're flying for fun or you're flying not for fun. Now you're going to say, well, I'm flying and I'm collecting data and it's fun. Well, that's not what I mean by fun. What I mean is you need to make sure it's not for anything else but recreational purposes. Okay. Here's a bunch of examples that I use all the time. I'm a realtor. I do pictures for my own listing. In this case, you do need to have a certificate. I'm doing pictures for free for my church. It doesn't matter if it's for free or not. This is not recreational flying. Then you need to have a certificate to do this. I'm checking the gutters. This is one of the popular one from the FAA that they mention all the time. You go to grandma's house and you check the gutters to see if there are leaves in there or pine needles. Then basically you need to have a certificate. And I always mention this one because it's so extreme. And just to give you an idea of what the FAA is thinking. We all want to know what the FAA is thinking sometimes, but that's kind of the background right here. And if you're doing videos for a friend, and this is going to be, even if you're practicing, if you're doing it for their business, even if you're practicing and not charging, then that's still going to count as needing a certificate. So what are drones used for in general in the world at the moment? And there's so many things, and I'm probably even missing some things in here. Every single day, people find new ways to use drones for a lot of different things. The first one is pretty obvious: photography, videography. Now, there's a lot of application just right there. You can do stuff for real estate photography, real estate videography, for weddings, journalism. If you go on movie sets, that's also another example. So that's very popular because it's very approachable in a way. Then we have mapping services. We have mapping, surveying. Now be careful, I'm going to put a little caveat right here. Surveys require to have a certification in most states. You cannot say that you're doing surveys unless you are an actual certified surveyor. You can do construction progression, where you're going to be flying the drone around, and over time, as the building gets built, then you can go every week, every day, whatever it is that you want to set for your client, and then do progression. This is great because the project managers, they love to see pictures of what is going on at the site. And if they have a timeline that they have to follow, they always do, then they can basically see if they're on track to finish the project on time. We can do 3D modeling. We can do volume measurement. There was an accident not too long ago on a highway in California where a big chunk of the highway basically fell into on the side of a cliff. And they were out there with drones measuring the volume so they could figure out exactly how much volume to bring back. I've actually done that myself with my business. We had a trail locally here in Prescott in Arizona that had been washed out. A big storm came in, took a big portion of a trail, and then the city asked me to measure all that stuff so they could figure out how many trucks they could bring bring in. So this is a really good application right here. We can do inspections of pretty much everything. Roof, solar panels, power lines is something that's really big at the moment. Turbines, whatever it is that you want to inspect. And when I say inspect, I'm not only talking about just inspecting, for example, using an RGB camera or using a traditional camera like the one I'm recording from. I'm talking about actually using a thermal camera where you can do actual more in-depth measurements of what is going on, especially for solar panels. We have the agricultural field is using drones a lot to do plant health. You're going to be using what's called an NDVI camera in order to measure plant health. So the camera is measuring how much light is being reflected from these plants to see if they're healthy or not. So this is a really cool application. And for agriculture, we can also do some mapping as well. And in this case, just mapping a special area for somebody in the agricultural field. And then we have drone deliveries. And this is kind of something that a lot of people are hearing about is drone deliveries these days. If you look at drone deliveries a little bit more closely, it gets tricky. It gets tricky because under Part 107, which is the regulation that encompasses most of the flights in the US for small aircraft, small unmanned aircraft. Under Part 107, the FAA only allows deliveries, drone deliveries, to be done within visual line of sight, which means that I'm standing right here, I'm looking in the distance, and as far as my eye can see is how far my drone can fly. If I go past beyond, it's called beyond visual line of sight, then I need to have special certificate if I'm going to be doing deliveries. So at the moment, there's only 3 companies in the country that are using drones for deliveries beyond visual line of sight. So that's, and you can imagine the big ones are UPS, Google Wing, and Amazon. So that's going to be something that you probably will not get into unless you have millions of dollars to spend on that certification. Is it going to be easier in the future? Yes, I'm thinking that is going to be easier, but we're not there yet. It's going to be several years. So when you hear people say, I'm going to get into drone delivery, if you want to get into drone delivery, you're going to apply for one of the big ones that have their certificate already. The public safety side is another thing, and public safety is using drones more and more because it actually has the potential to save lives. And when I say public safety, I'm talking about your firefighters, I'm talking about your police officers, I'm talking about first responders, search and rescue. And we have a way to use drones to, like recently, I was just reading an article not too long ago of somebody having a thermal camera working for the fire department, and they were able to figure out exactly where the fire was located underneath that roof, so they could go in there and take care of it instead of having to try to guess where the fire was located. We've had people in the last couple of months, it's winter, it's cold outside, and we have people get lost, older people, younger people, and get disoriented in the cold. It's the end of the day, and then they have to send a team to search acres of land to find that person. Well, instead, they're sending a drone that has a thermal camera. They can find the person within minutes and then send someone to go get them. So we had one couple weeks ago, two instances in a row that were reported where they saved somebody's life. The temperatures were dropping very quickly, and if these people spend the night outside, they probably wouldn't make it. So great application here for drones. Here's my quote, and you've probably heard this before. A drone is just another tool to gather data, and it really is what it is. Okay, you're a plumber. You have a set of tools that you use to do plumbing. Maybe you buy a more fancy tool to get the job done more easily. This is exactly what the drone is right here. So this is me quoting this right now at this moment. This is how you're going to use drones. But starting your own business, that's going to take some hard work. And this is kind of your dose of reality right here. If you think this is something easy, think again. This is not an easy way to make money, okay? And I want to be clear. I want to be clear on this because I think there's an unrealistic expectation. Everybody's saying, well, it's cool. I mean, flying drones is awesome, but you have to remember that you're going to have a lot of different lines on your job description. You're going to be a marketer. You're going to be a salesman. You're going to be a web designer. You're going to be your own accountant. You're going to be a pilot every once in a while. You're going to edit your footage. You're going to produce your footage. If you're collecting data, you're going to have to analyze the data. you're going to be your own personal assistant for a while. You're going to do it all. And it's going to take a while before you can hire somebody else to do this, just like every other business out there. So long hours to get started. You're going to need to get the certification. We talked about this. I know some of you are doing this right now with us. You're going to have to do market research. You're going to have to build your clientele. You're going to have to keep your clientele. You're going to have to get authorizations to fly in airspace. You're going to have to learn new equipment. There's so many things that you're going to have to learn to do over time, and at the same time, fly, collect data, keep your clients happy. There's a lot of things. So early on, the payback is going to be pretty small, but over time, it obviously pays off if you do this the right way. So here's a typical day. And this is a typical day from when I used to do this full time. Find new clients. This is something that you're going to be doing all the time, unless you have a job where you can get the same clients over and over again, which is one of my tips that I'm going to give you in a minute. Try to get that done. But otherwise, you're going to have to keep chasing clients and get new clients all the time. You're going to write quotes. You're going to create invoices. You're going to create marketing strategies if you don't have a team doing that for you. You're going to prepare for your flight missions. This takes time. You have to charge your batteries. You have to request approval. You have to make sure that your equipment is up to date. You have to make sure that you get waivers when you need to get waivers. That actually takes quite a bit of time. You're going to create company documents, your standard operating procedures, your checklist, your training documents that you're going to provide to other people when you hire them. So that's something that you have to do. Every once in a while, you're going to fly your drone, right? Hopefully. You're going to practice flying, because sometimes you're going to get a brand new drone. How do you learn to fly the brand new drone? Well, you go out and you practice. And then you have to analyze the data, and that takes time. When I do videography, even if it's just for our course, when we collect data, and when I used to do this all alone, now I don't have a team that helps me with this. But in the past, I had to go collect data, and then I had to edit it. Every hour of footage that I collected was about 4 to 6 hours of work in behind the scene to make it happen. Obviously, having a team helps a lot with that. But at first, when you get started, that's what you got to do. So you're going to have to analyze your data. If you're creating maps for your clients, you're going to have to do that. If you're a roof inspector or a power line inspector, you're going to have to look at the data, find where the issues are, write a report, provide it to your customer. So that's another thing that you have to do. You have to deal with customer demands. And this may not sound like a big line right here, but I've had shoots where I had to go and record the footage, came back, and the customer is like, well, actually what I meant was this. And then you have to go back out and do the shoot again. Or you have to convince them that whatever you get was good enough and change their mind. You have to look at financial documents. And I can tell you from my background, managing flight schools, that's what I spent a lot of my time doing. One of my jobs was business analyst. So I collected data for our flight school, and then I looked at everything that we did and see how we could predict the future, predict our future growth and financial strength. So that's something that you're going to have to do as well. You're going to have to review the latest technology, which is also a big deal. Okay, we have drones coming out all the time. You're going to have to learn how to use it, and then you have to learn the regulation changes. Now, this is where I come in. If you're one of our students, you get our updates every single week. We talk about everything that happens in the UAS industry, and you don't have to do it. We keep track of the regulation changes. We update our videos, and everything goes into our courses. So that's important. Are you guys overwhelmed yet? It's not done. You still have to manage people. If you have people that work for you, then you have to manage them. I had a boss one time that when he first started, he said, my goal is to spend 80% of my time working on making the company better and 20% of my time on managing people. And when you first start, and you don't have the team that works exactly like they're supposed to, that's going to be the other way around. You're going to spend 80% of your time managing people and 20% of your time doing work. And so it's up to you when you build your company to not have to do that. And I can tell you, I'm proud of the team we have at Pilot Institute, because I don't have to spend 80% of my time managing people. People manage themselves and they do their own work. So that is amazing to have that. And then obviously the last line item is everything else that you need to do to get the job done. And that's kind of important. So the good news is there's a lot of work. There is a lot of pay off if you do it correctly. It's hard at first, but as you get there, once you get established, then you can push through and then have really something that is going to provide you with a living, and I think is going to be really fulfilling, if I can say. I want to make sure that everyone is still there. I can still see everyone. This is good. I know this is where we froze last time, so all that we have now is all brand new information. Okay. And it's funny that we stop here is how much can you make? And the answer is millions, obviously. No, it's not. We see people, I see people all the time, and I kind of chuckle and shake my head where I see people online saying, make $300 an hour flying your drone. Well, yeah, maybe you can. I'm sure there is some professions out there that can yield this kind of money. But the reality is there's a lot of low-paying jobs out there to fly drones, especially when you get started, when you don't have a whole lot of skills. So that's fine. The pay range is going to vary greatly on what you use the drone for. What kind of tool are you using it for? If you're flying for a drone aggregator, which means that somebody else is looking for jobs, and then they come back and they said, I need a pilot here, I need a pilot here, and here's $50 to $300. So that's kind of the range that you're going to get. And this is not something that's sustainable. Okay. Drone aggregators are great to get started, but it's not something that you're going to do full-time and get paid full-time. Okay. Unless you live in a really, really, really busy area, but I have yet to see anyone who can make a living full-time doing stuff for drone aggregators. So at that stage, you're going to have to pretty much run your own business or work for someone who has a business already and become their drone pilots. And there's a lot of people out there that do this. So if you run a mapping business, you have LiDAR, you have thermal cameras. Now you have equipment that requires more skills. Now you're going to charge a lot more for your services. So it's an investment. You're going to have to spend. A LiDAR camera is in the $60,000 range. And yes, I did say 60,000. These cameras are really expensive. But as you can imagine, now because you have an investment, you can charge a lot more money for your services. So something to keep in mind. So how do you get started? Well, you get started. You have to ask yourself several questions. And this is the list that I have right here, because every time somebody says, what can I do with drones? My first question to them is, what is your skill set? What it is that you can do with this tool? Remember, this is a tool that you're going to be using to collect data. So what is your skill set? What are you good at? What do you want to be good at? What are you interested in? What kind of skills can you actually learn? There's, like I said, lots of different applications for drones. So what is it that you want to go into? Do you want to get into mapping? In which case, then you have to go and learn how to do mapping correctly. Also, something very important. What is the demand in your area? If there's no demand, there's no work for you to do. I see people saying, I always use this example with my students, and I say, you're going to be doing corn inspections for agriculture in the middle of the desert in Phoenix. Is there a lot of corn growing in Phoenix? Not that I know of. So if you offer the service, you're offering it to no one. Okay. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Is there actually a demand in your area? So another example, you're a photographer and you want to add drones to your services. How many other people in your area are already providing the service? In which case, what can make you different? So that's my next bullet point right here, is what makes you different from the competition? How can you be somebody that stands out of the market field where everybody is located? Pilot Institute, we're different because we provide you guys training that is more in depth than just enough to pass the test. That's what we do. This is what makes us different from everybody else in the industry. There's nobody else I know that provides the kind of training that we do. And that's what makes us so successful, because people are attracted to this kind of training. So what makes you different? Think about this. Answer that question in your head. And then, are you collecting data only, or are you also analyzing the data? And this is really important. You could be working for a roof inspector, and you're not yourself a roof inspector. You're just a pilot, and you contract with the roof inspector, and you say, hey, I'm going to fly instead of you going on the roof, getting harnessed up and climbing on the ladder and taking the risk, then I'm going to do these videos for you, or photos, and then I'll send them to you at the end of the day. You do the inspection, but I'm going to save you a lot of time to do this. And then so you don't have to, so you can do more inspections. So that's one way that you can do it. In this case, you're only collecting data. You're not actually analyzing the data as well. So here's some tips of things that I've from personal experience, from things that I've seen happening to other people. Don't try to do it all. Don't try to do everything. I see people trying to offer photography, mapping, and then inspections and in agriculture. You can do that eventually once you have enough experience. But if you're just starting and if you don't have any background, just pick one of the things and then do that well. And from here, you can start to add more services. My friend Mark in Phoenix, he has a company that does this kind of work, and that's exactly what he did. And I always like to use Mark because he started with a small Phantom camera, a drone, and he built this really big company where he now offers all different types of services. But he didn't start that way. He started by doing one thing, doing it well, and then moving on to the next thing. So that's important. Find what your competition is doing and then how much they are charging. This will give you an idea of what the market is like. If there's 50 people out there charging $100 every time they go out, then chances are they're probably, most of them, surviving on doing that kind of work. That's probably how much you can charge or close to it. So it's something to keep in mind in here. Can you be different? Can you be different? Can you be better? Can you provide a different type of service, a better quality service? This is important as well. You know, I live in a small town, and when I look at what is being offered in terms of the quality of photography, videography, there's room for improvement, and there's room for somebody to come in and bring in higher quality equipment or a better quality product, and that is a place for somebody to grow and grow their business. So find how much demand there is. Don't go into a field where it's already saturated and there is no demand for it. And this sounds like the obvious thing to say, but you can't really do that until you do the research. And you know, we're talking about all this obviously because we have a course, and I'm going to pitch the course a little bit here because this is what we do. This is what we help you do in the course. We help you create a business plan. And to create a business plan, this is my next bullet point right here. You have to do research. You have to find how many people out there are interested in what you're going to provide. How many people out there are willing to pay the price that you're willing to pay? How many of this market are you going to go after? How are you going to go after this market? How much money are you going to spend? How much are you going to charge for your services? So all these things are things that we're going to help you figure out throughout the entire course so you can create a business plan. I personally had one venture that I went through that I decided to be that guy and not do a business plan, and it didn't work. And you know, and I don't mind saying it. I don't mind sharing that I failed, that this business did not work because I was really excited about it. I believed in it, but it wasn't the right place to do it. And I should have known that. I should have done the research and realized that the time that I spent doing it. Now, thankfully, I didn't really spend, well, I did spend quite a bit of time. I didn't spend a whole lot of money doing it because I did it on the side. And when I realized it wasn't going to work, then that was it. Then I decided that wasn't going to be what I was going to do. It wasn't drone related, but something to learn. Okay, so create this business plan. Do this research before you're going to jump in and spend thousands of dollars on drone equipment. Do the research and find what's going to work for you. So I'm going to get off my soapbox right here and talk about the next thing here. Where are we at? We are right here. Okay, here's another tip. Advanced skills means higher paying job. That's kind of what I said before. You have a thermal camera, you have, you know how to do LiDAR inspections, then all of a sudden you're going to be a lot more, you're going to be able to charge a lot more money for your services than you would if you did just simple photography. Not that there is anything wrong with doing simple photography, but if you're looking for the higher paying jobs, that's what you're going to do. So in this case, you should consider upskilling. Make sure that you can learn new skills, and it's going to be expensive. It's going to be an investment. If you do a thermal course, then it's probably going to be several $1,000s to do that. And but at the end of it, you may get a certification, and now it's something that you can sell to your clients. So this is important. Remember, this is just a tool in your toolbox. We see people that are already established photographers, and they're just adding their drones as a tool in their toolbox to be able to do just aerial photography on top of ground photography. So very, very important. And the next thing kind of brings me to your portfolio. Do you have a portfolio? Are you actively working on creating a portfolio? And if you're not, then you really should, because this is what your client is going to want to see. And I say this all the time to people that get started. Your client doesn't care what kind of tool you use to collect the data. I have an Inspire 2 in the studio here. I have a little mini somewhere right here, right? Do you see the little mini right here? Well, your client doesn't really know the difference between these two. They know that it's a big drone, that it's really cool. But I've seen people do really cool footage using Mavic 2 Pro, as good as somebody who's not really good at flying with the Inspire 2. So your tool doesn't really define the kind of work that you're going to do. Your client, they want to see the end result. They're hiring you to do quality work. They want to see quality work. So this is really important. Create a portfolio. Your portfolio should show everything that you can do well. So if you're specializing in inspections, then have a portfolio. It could be a PDF, it could be printed, something that you can bring to your client and say, hey, this is who we work with. This is the kind of work that we've done. And then hopefully it rings in the client's head and say, this is exactly what we need. You get the job. So you need to impress your client, not with your equipment, but with your work. Actually, I had a discussion with someone, and I can't remember who it was, but actually, I think it was Mark down in Phoenix. And he said he was trying to convince a client. The client was convinced that they wanted to fly the Inspire 2. Mark said, if I fly the Inspire 2, then I have to have additional people on the job to do this, because we have to take this thing several miles. We can't drive to that place. The Inspire 2 is pretty big, okay? For those of you that don't know, this is a drone that fits on this table right here, and it's bulky. And he said, I can do exactly the same job, exactly the same specs in 4K and all the quality. And I can do it with this Mavic 2 Pro right here, and it's only going to take one person, so it's going to be cheaper. And he was trying to convince the client to tell them the equipment doesn't matter. I can get the job done with this drone right here without having to take the big drone and charge you more money for it. So that was kind of I think that was a big realization, not necessarily for me, but just something that was kind of important. If you don't have any experience, which is fine, everybody starts somewhere, use the drone aggregators to build experience. Now, I'm going to say this right now. Do not use the drone aggregators to build your portfolio. Those pictures that you take for the drone aggregators, they belong to the drone aggregators. Make sure that you don't use those in your portfolio. But from what you learn from the drone aggregators, they'll give you some training, some good, some of them not as good. Take that training and go build your own portfolio. Practice on your friend's house. One of your friends has a really nice house. Just do photography of that house if that's what you're into. You need to do mapping. Find a place somewhere that's in open land and do a mapping of that area and practice. Practice your skills. Build your portfolio. So that's really important. The next thing I want to talk about, which is this is probably the most important part of this presentation, actually, and one of the most difficult: how to find customers and how to keep them, really, because finding them is good, keeping them is even better. And the first thing is, my general tip is build relationships that are going to last. It is a ton easier to have one client and then have work from that client every single month, every single week, even every 2 months or every 6 months, whatever it is. So in this case, make sure that you find clients that can have a long-term relationship. And there's actually a joke in the industry, because there's on the drone aggregator's website, and some of you I see are asking what a drone aggregator is. A drone aggregator is somebody like DroneBase who or Drone Up, who finds clients and then finds pilots to do the jobs on their behalf. And because they're a middleman, they take a lot of the money and then pay you, in general, smaller amounts than you would if you found the client yourself. So there's a joke running in forums of this one client, and I can say publicly, his name is S. Rose. He doesn't really give his full name, but he's always looking for a long-term relationship. He said, if you take this job for very cheap, then I have a lot more jobs like this for very cheap. So you're doing a lot of very cheap job with this person. So it's kind of the long-term relationship is kind of a joke going around in the industry. But build those relationships. I do mean it. This is something that's actually very important. Find who your target market is going to be and then make contact with them. And now I know this is not for everyone. I know people are introverts and they have a hard time going to talk to clients in person. And that's fine. You know, we're not everybody is a born salesman. If that's the case, team up with someone who's going to be able to do this for you. You need to be able to get to your client. You need to be able to sell your product to your client. You need to have a sales pitch that you need to be able to go to your client and say, what do you do? If you ask me what Pilot Institute does, I have my little sales pitch that's memorized, not really memorized because this is something that I'm passionate about, so I can tell you right away. But you need to be ready. This is what we call the 30-second elevator pitch. You're stuck in the elevator with your potential client, and you have to be able to tell them what you do. By the time the ride ends, they need to know what you do and be able to sign up. So practice that kind of stuff. And find new customers that are going to be doing recurrent work. And this is really important. You need to find recurrent work because it's a lot less time spent finding new clients. So that's my my tips. Here's another good one. Build the relationships with the people that can find the work for you. Remember what I said about teaming up with the roof inspectors? Team up with someone who can do real estate. Team up with a realtor or even a group of realtors. And then now you have recurrent work. You don't have to keep finding new realtors. If you work for the same person over and over and over again, that's it. You get it made, okay? And then in the meantime, you can keep building your team and adding more people to go to more realtors. Now you've got more power and you can cover more ground. Keep in touch with your current customers and keep them happy. And I'm going to say that again. Keep in touch with your current customers. Keep them happy. Once you sign that contract with your customers, you're not done. You have to provide the service and then you have to follow up, make sure that it was done correctly. Otherwise, you're not going to get the client again. And remember, word of mouth is huge. Word of mouth is the way that you're going to get more clients without spending a dollar. So you have to do that. You have to provide that quality service so people recommend you to other people, and then they keep coming back. And that's I cannot overemphasize how important this is. And then you have to be flexible. And I've kind of hinted at that before. You're going to have clients that are super easy to work with, and you're going to have clients that are hard to work with. And I know this sounds very cliche, but it really is. It really is difficult sometimes to keep people happy, but you have to do everything you can to do that. Even if it means sometimes losing money or having to go back and shoot. Hopefully that doesn't happen very often, but you have to keep that in mind. Here's a little diagram. I didn't invent this. This is not me, but this is something that's so true. You can tell your clients, they're going to want three things. They're going to want fast service, a good service, and a cheap service. And the key is they can only get two of these. So they can get good and fast, but it's going to be expensive because now you're going to have to rush the work and make it good. So it means that it's going to cost them extra. They want it good and cheap. If that's the case, then it's going to be slower because you're going to have other jobs that you can attend to that are not going to be cheap, and then you don't have to worry about that. Or it can be fast and cheap, in which case that's going to be low quality. That's the least. That's the kind of job that you don't want to do. You don't want to sacrifice quality because you're doing it fast and you're doing it cheap. So if they want all three of those, just not possible. Find a sticker of this, put it on your counter, put it on your website, and explain that to your customer. You got to make sure that you do only one of these two. Otherwise, your product is going to suffer. Okay, let's talk about some marketing strategies. Get a great product. You know exactly what you're going to be doing. Now you need to get it to the world. And And this is also super critical. You need to make sure that you can get your product in front of your target market. And these days, obviously, a lot of it is going to be done online. And a lot of you that came to Pilot Institute, if you're a student already, how did you find us? You found us because of our marketing strategies. And so you got to keep your product simple. Your customer, when they get on your website or when they get on a brochure, whatever it is, they want to make sure that your product is simple, easy to understand. We actually walk you through all this in the course, in the drone business course. We walk you through all the steps, how you're going to price everything, how you're going to present it on your website. Offer packages. Make sure that you're a realtor, a real estate photographer. You're going to say you're going to get so many pictures, a 1-minute video, and then a 360 tour for this much money. Here's your package. And this is easy because now you know how many of these packages you're going to sell every month, and you can easily predict the kind of work that you're going to have to do. You can do a la carte work, but that's going to be a lot more expensive. Sorry, talking too much. That's going to be a lot more expensive. So you need to keep that simple as you can. The a la carte is good, but you're going to put a premium on top of that just because it's going to take a bit more work for you to do. Something super important, and this is actually exactly what we're doing here, showing expertise. I'm in front of you to explain to you why you need to select me to learn from me, because I have expertise. And hopefully after this presentation, you have no doubt that I'm the person that you need to be listening from in order to learn how to do this. But you need to do the same thing with your customers. You're doing mapping. You're doing a mapping mission. When you go to your customer, you have to show them that you understand their language and that the product they're going to get, they're going to be comfortable with it. You need to do that on your website. You need to show expertise on your website. If I'm finding a plumber locally, I want to make sure that when I look at that plumber's website, that there is some information in there that makes me feel comfortable that they know what they're doing. Okay, so same thing for you. You can develop case studies for your website to explain how drones are being used. Here's a perfect example. You're trying to convince a local power company that instead of using helicopters to do power line inspections, they should be using a drone because it's a lot cheaper, because it's easier to get the data, you can get closer, it's a lot less risk for them. Their insurance is going to go down because now they're not using these very expensive drones to do that, helicopters. So here's your case study. You need to develop this case study and then get it in front of your client so the client can be like, this makes sense to me, sign me up. All right. So show them the benefits of what drones are doing. To a lot of people, and I can tell you that because I talk to a lot of people that don't know anything about drones on a regular basis, a lot of people don't understand what drones are being used for. People think drones are these little annoying things that are flying around your house and spying on your backyard. That's what they think about drones. Or even worse, they think it's the military drone that kills people. So there's a big space in between these two categories, and most people don't know about it. Business owners don't know about it. They don't know that they can actually save a ton of money by using drones. So it's your job to make sure that you sell your product and that you place it correctly. So very, very important. You need to make sure they understand why they want to pick you, right? Why are you the person for the job? What makes you special? What are your strengths? What's your portfolio? What does it look like? Here's the product. The product should be right in their face. As soon as they log into the website, it should be right there so they know exactly what they're signing up for. And they need to look at it and be like, I want this. This is the product that I want. You're the person to do it. Okay? And on that note, a little bit about pricing. Don't be the cheapest. You don't have to be the cheapest out there. Okay? Cheapest is often associated with bare minimum, something you get by with, not really something that inspires a lot of confidence, or instills a lot of confidence, I should say. So make sure that you're not necessarily the cheapest person out there. If you want to position yourself as the cheapest at first to get some market shares, then fine. But just remember the connotation that the cheapest has in people's minds. So you didn't buy from us. If you're a current student, you didn't buy from us because we were the cheapest. You bought from us because we were the quality course that you wanted to buy that was going to give you the education that you needed. Okay. So that's why you bought, I hope at least. Well, I know we're not the cheapest and we don't want to be the cheapest. So, Something that you can do online. It's very important. And we're almost done here, and we'll open it up for questions in a second. Collect testimonials. This is so important. Collect reviews from people. Go to your clients, ask them to write something nice about you if they like the product. Go to Google, have Google collect reviews for you. We use a company called Trustpilot. We've got 5,000 reviews on Trustpilot of people that go in there and give us reviews of the product. 4.9 out of 5 average. You know, when people go on the website and they see 4.9 out of 5, they're like, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Have your social media presence. And I'm not saying sharing funny pictures of cats and dogs and whatever it is. Okay. Your social media presence, you know what you use it for? You use it to show your expertise. You want to have your client land on your website, go to your social media, and see that you're showing your expertise. My friend Mark in Phoenix, he has pictures of the work that he does. He does a video for a client, he puts it on social media. So if I go in there and I check, oh, Mark has been busy. He's been doing this, he's been doing this, he's been doing this. That makes me feel good as a customer because I can see that that he's been active and that people are actually paying him money to do the job. So this is really important. I want you to have a website that's easy to navigate, and it's easy to get so much into details on the website that at one point customers are like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Make it so they don't have to click a whole lot to get to you. The goal of your website is what? The goal is to bring people to buy your product or to call you or to do whatever it is, or buy your services. So you need to make sure you have an easy way for people to get to the section that gets you the job. So keep that in mind. Imagine that you don't know anything about your business. Go on your website and say, how quickly can this person get to me in order to buy the service or to buy the product? I hope this makes sense. And the online presence, and this is really super important as well. Create a Google business listing. If you have a Google business listing, Google is going to look at you and say, okay, I know who this business is. And then the more you do with that business listing, the more complete it is, the more chances Google has to send you a client. When somebody types in real estate photography Prescott, then they're going to find you as the number one because you filled out all the information. You'd be amazed how many, when I look, like I said, I live in a pretty small town, 60,000 people. It's pretty rural. It's west, you know, we're in the far west here in the middle of Arizona. And I find a lot of businesses don't have websites. They don't have a Google listing. So who do I go to? I go to the person that when I type on Google, I find them because they have that listing available right here. And I get information before I can even call them. So this is really important. Go on Yelp, Thumbtack, create accounts there, Yellow Pages. The more you have of these, the more Google is going to see you as the authority. Remember, we talked about having authority. You need to show that you have expertise. Well, this is what Google kind of looks at as well. Optimize your page as much as you can with Google and be visible and try to get as many backlinks as you can to other businesses. If Google looks at your business and says, this website has a link from this place and this place and this place, then Google is going to look at it and say, this is a pretty legit website. I'm going to send it traffic. And that's really the way that the algorithm works. Obviously, it's very simplified, but you get the idea. Advertise on Google. Spend some money to be the top for the top keywords in your area. If people are going to search real estate photography Prescott to find you or whatever your city is, then pay Google to show up on these keywords. If you type Part 107 training right now and you go on Google, you're going to find us. That's probably how you found us. So you need to be visible and you need to build your mailing list. And you know, when I first started in business, I had somebody tell me, you need to build your mailing list as soon as you can. And boy, they were right. You need to build that mailing list as soon as you can and start having people in there to send emails to, because now you can send emails, updates, show your expertise to your mailing list and say, hey, we know what we're talking about, buy from us. So build that mailing list as soon as you can. And then we have SEO. And I'm going to spend a few seconds talking about SEO. SEO is search engine optimization, which means that if you set up your website correctly, Google is going to look at it. And if you type real estate photography Prescott and you have the right content on your website, then Google is going to say, that's the website right here. That's number one on the list. Now you don't have to spend money to be the number one on the list because your website has been optimized for search engine optimization. So find someone who knows about SEO or learn it yourself, and then optimize your website for these searches. Okay, this is it. This is where you guys do stuff, and I stop talking, well, until I answer your questions. But here's what you do next. You got really 5 things, and actually I'm missing this. It should be 5 at the end, not 4. Research. You need to research your topic. This is so important. You need to find out everything that's going on out there. Create your business plan. That's what the course is for. We're going to help you create your business plan. We make sure you start on a strong foundation and make sure that you have research, step number 1, and collected all the data that you can. Then you're going to name your business. You're going to make it legal. We also show you in the website, in the course, how to do that. And then you're going to create your marketing plan. How are you going to get your website, your product, your services in front of your audience so they can buy it? And we also show you how to do all of this on the website, in the course. And then you're going to find your clients. You're going to do the work. You're going to keep your clients. You're going to make them happy, and you're going to make money. I mean, it sounds simple, right? It's not. As you can imagine from everything I've just said, as quickly as I could without losing anyone, it takes work. And then this may take you 6 months to do correctly before you have a final business ready to go. If you have more time, it may be a lot quicker, but you need to go through these steps. And this is what we're here for. We're here to provide you with the guidance in order to do this. So if you want more information, the course is available right now. It's available under 2 forms. If you don't have the Part 107 exam yet, then do the bundle. We have a bundle for the drone course, the drone business course, and the Part 107, and it's on sale right now, $199. So that's a great deal. That's actually how much money you would spend with pretty much any other decent Part 107 course out there, except now you get all these extra as well. And then we have the course as a standalone as well, just the drone business course, and that's also available for purchase. And we have other courses, as some of you may know. We do all types of training, airplane and drones. We have a drone flying 101. If you've never flown before, or if you know someone who is learning to fly, then with a drone, this is the perfect one. We make it really cheap because we want people to get educated. You get actually a ton of content with this one. Helps you with everything. You can build your own drone. It's a cinematic drone. It will help you create some really cool cinematic footage. It's an FPV drone. You started from scratch. We actually show you how to solder, how to buy the parts and put it together. It's really neat. And then we have deep dive courses. These are free. We have one for the Mavic Mini, the Mini 2, and the Mavic Air 2, and we're adding more as new drones become available. So that's what I get. So I'm ready for all of your questions. I've been seeing the discussions going on the side and here, and I see people saying, do the class. I mean, there's nothing else I can say but do the class. That's right.
Thank you. And I'm popping back in, and I'll grab some questions from the audience. I mean, Greg, first off, thank you. And thank you for being able to finish this one out. I feel like I missed all the stuff last time. For everyone, we're going to get to questions in like 20 seconds. I just wanted to repeat. So if you have a question, actually start dropping them in the chat. I'm sorry if I missed some of the ones from earlier. I'll try to grab them. But a few quick housekeeping things. I put Greg's link to the bundle in the chat. That $199 price is only available the next 7 days. So I did want to drop that link there. It's also in the YouTube description, and we'll send it out to anyone who's watching this, perhaps via replay or is going to get the email after. If you need anything else from us, just let us know in the chat as well. Otherwise, Greg, you ready for questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. No particular order, folks. I apologize for that. One I wanted to grab first, I'm going to put it on the screen, is if you provide mapping or volumetric data services, do you need to carry professional liability or E&O insurance with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And anything you're going to do with drones, you're going to want to have insurance. There are providers that will help you with that. We work with Skywatch. We're not affiliated with them, but they can provide you a one-time flight insurance or for the whole month, the whole year, whichever way you want to do it. But yes, depending on the state that you live in, you may not be able to provide any of this service without being an actual surveyor. So you need to research the regulation in your state because you can actually get in trouble. You can get sued by the board of surveyors in that state if you don't have the proper licensing. So be careful when you do that kind of stuff. You may have to have a lot of different labels in there saying that you're not a surveyor, or even not maybe even be able to do it. So you have to be very careful with that portion. When you start talking about survey grade or survey level, even with some of the volumetric data, the best part is actually to work for a surveyor and provide them the data and let them deal with making it legal.
Thank you for that, Greg. Another one I'm going to grab, which is drone agnostic, but we could hit quickly, is what tools best to make your own website? You want to give a few, Greg, and I'll give a few, maybe perhaps two, and
yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear what you use. WordPress for me is kind of a staple. Actually, our website is done in WordPress. We have you can get templates for the website. There's a bit of a learning curve, but there's a ton of courses available for pretty cheap to learn how to do WordPress. And it's one of these things where you can log in. It's kind of like a Word document. You can edit your pages, save them, and then they look exactly like they do on the thing. But what do you have, Aaron?
So real quick ones, guys, I recommend Squarespace is good. Wix is good. One we use at Teachable all the time is Webflow. There's so many in this space right now, but did those three, for probably under $100, any one of those, you'd spend less than a weekend. And the time factor matters to me. So if I could do it quickly, that's worth something. There's other problems. Let me grab a bunch more here because I saw a bunch of these fly through. This one's a bit. 1 second. You might not have the answer to this, but perhaps you do. The FAA seal or anything about being licensed on our website?
You cannot use the FAA seal. Actually, if you do that, you're going to get in trouble. The FAA will send you a cease and desist notice. Do not use the FAA seal on your website. You can say that you are licensed. You can say that you're a certified remote pilot, that there's no issue. You can say you are an FAA certified remote pilot, but you cannot use their seal on your website. I'm glad they asked that. That's really important.
Yeah, but that was one I was like, whew, I wonder if he knows. Let me grab another one here. So, for time purposes, this could obviously be probably expanded upon, but high levels, how would you recommend perhaps getting into mapping?
I would say find someone who's doing it locally and see if you can shadow what they're doing. That's really the best way. Now, if you're going to be competing against them eventually, they may not be willing to let you do that. Go online. There's actually, I always hate to recommend going on YouTube because you never know who's teaching what on YouTube, but there's quite a few good tutorials that give you a kind of an overview of what mapping is. Be careful if you're going to buy a course from someone on mapping, make sure they are credentialed and they have the experience doing this. Just like everything else, there's a lot of people that are offering things that they're not trained to do. So make sure you find somebody reputable to do that. But that's really, go and shadow someone if you can. That would be my tip.
I love that you just mentioned not to trust everything you see on YouTube, as folks watch us both on YouTube Live today. Don't trust everything, but trust this one, hopefully.
That's why I give my credentials before we get started.
Exactly. So next question I wanted to bring up is, your course in particular. So insurance was asked about in a bunch of different capacities. Like, do you dive deep in the course into insurance and not just business insurance?
Yeah, we do. We actually talk about the different types of insurance that you should get for your business. We talk about who you can get it from. Now, I mentioned Skywatch, but they're not the only name in the gig. So we have a list of people you can contact. Insurance is like car insurance. You got to shop for it every single time it comes for renewal. Go see somewhere else if there's something cheaper. I've dealt with insurance my whole life in the aviation training world, and this is what we did. But there are some key players out there. There's about 4 or 5 of them. But we explain because airplane insurance is one of them. You have whole insurance and you have liability insurance. We mentioned both of them and how they kind of work. Your client is going to dictate what kind of insurance you need. Your client is going to require $1 million liability insurance, more than likely at a bare minimum. And then we explain kind of what that actually means and what it covers, what it doesn't. And then for liability, we actually talk about liability as well for building your own company. I know I've seen some things in here, people asking, how do you build an LLC and all of that? We actually cover all of that, the different types of companies you can build, from a partnership all the way to a corporation, an LLC. Explain the difference between all of them. So that's all in the course. And I saw somebody, I'm going to answer that question because I saw it pop. Somebody said, how long does it take to do an LLC? It's a matter of weeks, really. It's rather quick to do it, but it's definitely something that we recommend that you do, because otherwise you can get in trouble for liability reasons.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry, I thought I was on mute. Thank you so much, Greg. I'll grab another one. I saw a follow-up too about the website questions. Folks asking about GoDaddy. GoDaddy is great, but usually you buy your domain name from GoDaddy. Their site builder is really, really raw is the word I would use. Just like it's not gonna allow you to do too much. And for folks who brought up WordPress, WordPress is great. Just roll with one of those. Spend the least you could to get the most you could possibly get.
Yep.
Let me grab this one. So, would inspection also require certification or licensing like surveying?
Depends on the state. Some states have a requirement. If you're going to do roofing inspections, then you need to be a roofing inspector. Some states don't require a roofing inspection certificate. So it depends on where you are. I hate to say it that way, but do some research to make sure you're doing it legally. Some states, you can just call yourself a roof inspector and then fly your drone and do that. My recommendation is always the same. Get the quality of education that you need, whether it's required or not, so that you can provide the best product to your clients. You can pass the FAA exam by just studying the questions, maybe, but then you won't know anything at the end of it. So that's why we recommend people to do a course that's actually worth it, just because then you learn something along the way and you're not dangerous. You're just doing your job.
Next question I wanted to grab is regarding national, professional drone organizations. Can you speak a bit to this?
Yep, there's a few. There is one that was recently started, and I can talk about that one because we actually sponsor them, because we actually believe in what they do. It's the Drone Service Provider Alliance. I think Johan is on the chat. Maybe he can put a link. DSPalliance.org, and they do this as volunteers. It's two people. It's Kenji and Vic, and they're known in the industry, and they actually represent drone service providers with the FAA at the Washington level. And this is something that we never had before. And so if you're going to support anyone, you can do it with them. They have a monthly subscription, so you can help them with their work. But I would definitely recommend what they do, because they're really the only one that I know out there that have a vested interest in drone service providers and helping, making sure the FAA listens to us. We're the small guys, we're the guys that don't have the big $1 million corporation behind us. And these guys, that's exactly what they do, is represent all of us.
Thank you so much, Greg. Sorry, I'm trying to grab another question. The comments were coming in quick. I missed one. I wanted to bring it on the screen, so I apologize. The question was regarding the post-production software. I was looking for it. There's so many. Is there anything you'd want to speak on that topic? Yep. Being able to show kind of portfolio pieces and.
Yep, there's three software that I recommend, depending on what platform you're using. If you're on Windows, I'm going to recommend that you get Adobe Premiere, which is a industry standard, or that you get DaVinci Resolve. The big advantage of DaVinci Resolve, and the reason it's popular, is because it's free. They have a paid version with more features, but this is something that you can get for free and do professional quality level editing with it. If you're on the Mac, I'm a Mac guy. Final Cut Pro is the way to go. You have a one-time fee. I think it's less than $300, and then you have the software forever. Adobe Premiere is a monthly subscription, and it can get expensive. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. So if you have clients that you can use to pay for it, then that's fine. If you have revenue coming in, if you want to start on the cheaper side. Now, one thing that I'm going to say, when you pick an editing software, you pick one, and then you learn it, and then you stay with it. Okay. There's, at that level, there's nothing wrong with either of these software, but you need to learn everything you can from that one, and then just go along with it.
Thank you so much, Greg. We are at time. What I wanted to do is I'm going to look to see if there's any last questions we can grab in here that perhaps we can hit about. I know that a lot of the questions that are still coming in are around business licensing. Is there any perhaps last words before we shut down today where you'd want to kind of talk on that topic? Just because there's a lot to it, and obviously it seems like there's city licensing, there's federal licensing. I mean, perhaps bring it back into the course, and can you share a bit about how the course speaks to those pieces?
Yep. So the course actually talks about all the federal stuff. We're going to tell you about how to pick the right type of licensing for your business, and then how to actually research if there's somebody else with the same name for your business, for example. And then at the local level, then we're going to help you find out, what you need to do at the local level to make sure that you're legal. I can tell you one thing: if you're not legal, then they're going to send you a bill. Usually, no fee is attached with it. But if you have a city fee, if they find out that you're a business and you haven't paid your fee, they're going to send you a nice little reminder that say, "Hey, you owe us $60 a year for this licensing right here." So this is something that you can do in your city, but you'll have to do some research. But we won't leave you hanging. We do have a big section in the course that talks about all of that and why you should be picking one or the other for tax reason and for liability reason. I talk about both of these things.
Well, Greg, we are at time. One last thing I wanted to ask, I'm seeing it last in the comments too. Everyone who's saying LLCs and liability, like you are so right. Just always protect yourself. Greg's lessons are so important. You do not want to be the person who causes damage to someone's property and doesn't have a proper business insurance set up. That will be, that could sink you much faster than spending some money to get properly set up. But we are at time. I want everyone in this chat, before you leave, can you thank Greg? He's did the session twice for us. So, let him know in the chat you appreciate him. Greg, really, really genuinely appreciate you sharing your knowledge today. Any parting words you want for these folks who watched with us this hour?
Now, any question you have, I'm always happy to answer emails. So my email is very simple: greg@pilotinstitute.com. So if your question was important and you didn't get it answered, shoot me an email. I'll answer this afternoon or tonight or tomorrow morning, but I always answer everyone. So even if it's 100 emails that I get today, it's no problem. Send me your questions. I'm happy to help.
Greg, that's awesome. I might even have a question for you. With that, we're going to sign off. Thank you, everyone. And again, we appreciate you joining us, especially for round 2. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining.